If they have, I guess they're gonna have a fourth GDP debate. So if they have a fourth, another one, well, obviously Trump's not gonna be there. um, I'm not really understanding the point, but I guess like if you're gonna have it, they need to cut it down. You don't need to have like 20 people up there anymore. Like if they're gonna narrow it down, just put Nikki Haley up there. I can't stand her. Vivek Ramaswamy, and then you could put Ron DeSantis up there, and then like let's have Twitter, have it on Twitter, and then have Joe Rogan or Tucker Carlson or somebody like that, and then have people fact checked, have like fact checks done. So like instantaneous. So if they say something, you can pull it up. That's what they did with the DeSantis, Newsom debate. And then you can see Newsom lying, and he still doubled down. And they put the facts. They put the stat sheet right up. I forgot what it was. It's something about like, probably something about the deaths or something like that, the response to COVID. I don't know. I think that Newsom was like arguing that DeSantis was more authoritarian or what. It's like, dude, you locked down for like no reason. I mean, at first everyone did. I was even like, hey, let's take the kids out of school. We didn't know what the hell it was. But after a few weeks, when we realized, oh, the kids are gonna be fine, they should have went back to school. That's what should have happened. The lockdown should have stopped. And if you're old or fat, like, you should protect yourself. And it sucks, but like that's life. If I go into the woods, I'm gonna go hiking, like I have to like bring guns or something, or bear mace to protect myself. If I don't, like even though we live in a society, even though we have civilization, just because that happens, doesn't, the nature of reality doesn't go away. A lot of people are just living in fantasy land because that's what they have, that's all they know. They don't know what reality is. It's so crazy that we are so blessed here that people don't know what it's like to be a human. I'm not saying that people haven't been through suffering and pain and trauma, because like these people, the suffering and pain and trauma a lot of kids go through is the parents don't care about them. They're not there for them emotionally. They just dump them off at a daycare, and they care more about gaining material shit to appease or try to impress other people, and nobody gives a fuck. Like, if you're trying to impress people nowadays, you're like well, especially with stuff or like whatever, nobody's impressed. And you know, like like dating back in the day, you can impress a girl, you could swoon a girl. Well, since, you know, women have access and everyone has access to the internet pretty much, what's there to be impressed about? Everything's on there. You know, you see people, humans like like the Iceman and David Goggins do like extreme things. So like if I run 25 miles, like, yeah, no, who cares? Like, there's humans that have ran like 200 miles or 300 miles, whatever, without stopping. It's just like, if I go out and buy, I don't know, some car to try to impress people. So when I buy a car, it's just to get me from point A to point B without it breaking down. I don't want that, and I don't want to have to call a tow truck. Like I don't like driving as it is. I don't have to worry about breaking down. That's like you're sitting in traffic, then you have to like push it. That's why I like newer cars, because they work good. They're better than older cars. You know, older cars have a chance to break down, and newer cars too, but it's just like a lesser chance. I just don't want to fiddle with that. I don't want to deal with that. I will say this though, like, if you want to buy a new car, just understand that when you drive off that lot, you're losing like 40% of the value of it. So like, it's like, I think for me, it's best for me to buy cars that have been leased, you know what I mean? They got like 40,000 miles on it, or 50,000. So it's like maybe 2 or 3 years old or whatever. But it's way fucking cheaper than buying the brand new version, which is the same thing. It's almost like when I do with the cell phones, you know, I buy used cell phones off the internet people have used. And they have upgraded because a lot of people want to upgrade every year. They gotta have the newest and best to try to impress nobody, even though like their phone worked just as good as the new one. But they need to have, oh, I got the late, like, nobody cares. Like, seriously, nobody cares. In fact, like, I want my clothes to have not the brands, like the famous acceptable brands, the trendy brands. Oh, I gotta have Nike, I gotta have Under Armour, I gotta have this and that to. And what I will say is, like, that stuff is better quality than the cheap shit. Like, if you go to Walmart and get their clothes or shoes. I went to Walmart and I wanted to like get some cheap shoes for work or whatever, and they didn't even last a month. Then I went to a store, kind of like a Walmart here, and I bought shoes there, and they're far better. Like they lasted me. They're lasting me. You know, the shoes I bought from Walmart, I tried to fix them. I was like, I'll throw some super glue in there, and the sole just kept ripping off. And those cheap shoes, they're cheap, like $20, $26 or whatever. But I spent like an extra $40, and then the shoes that I'm wearing right now, they're not name brand, but I got them at a better store. They're better made, better quality, better shoe, and they're still lasting me, you know, 6 months later. So, and I work hard. Like, I'm on my feet all day, so I have to have good shoes. But the whole name brand thing, like, this is what I'm saying, like, going forward. People, listen, man, listen, you have to listen to me very carefully. Like, I don't think we're going to go through a collapse and go into the Stone Ages. The only way that happens if we have solar flares and it knocks our power grid out. But at that stage, I don't think we'll go back into like a Stone Age forever. The Stone Age would be like after a nuclear exchange. That would be a Stone Age, like a prolonged Stone Age. Where it's just like all survival, Mad Max type, you know. But there could be a period where the power goes out, where, oh, the cities are ruthless. If it's out for a month, and most people wouldn't survive. Like, if something like that, the power was out for 90 days, I probably wouldn't survive, honestly. You'd have gangs of people in the woods, and that's where I would go try to survive. But that, you know, with the elements and all that, like, if the power went out right now and had to try to survive in the coldness, not equipped, trying to survive, I mean, I feel like it's a better than trying to live in the cities, and, you know, so. But what I think is going to happen is it's just going to be, you're going to see your standard, your quality of life go down, down, down. There's going to be more pressure on the government. There's going to be more pressure on the dollar because they've been manipulating. It's so unstable. And everything that they're doing is going to backfire. And if Trump gets in there and it turns to crap, I think he'll have his work cut out for him. And I mean, if he has to sit there and battle Congress and the Senate again to try to do shit, it's like what's the fucking point? I mean, seriously, if you people are going to vote for like a Newsom or whoever that the left tries to put up there to replace Biden, I don't know if it's gonna be Kamala, but she might have to be the default because Biden ain't gonna, he ain't gonna be able to do it. They're not gonna be able to roll him back out there like that. And like, how the hell would nobody's gonna, like, seriously, if you have half a brain, you're not gonna vote for Biden. You believe all this propaganda, and yes, unemployment. Is the numbers low? Yes. There's lots of factors of that though. There's lots of factors. We have the jobs that are being created are jobs that are fucking low pay. That what the fuck am I gonna do with that? The problem with jobs is like they require you to do this and that, and like I get it if it takes like if I'm like gonna be a doctor or something like that, but if like I can be trained in a few months, I don't need to like you train me, dude. That's what companies, they don't want. That's the problem with companies, is they just want to take and take and take and take, and this is a problem I have with them. And they don't do nothing for the bottom workers. They don't do anything to try to train them for the next thing. Like, so the company I'm working at, I'm not trying to like talk shit on them, but I'm just saying, like, I don't give a fuck. Like, if you want to fire me, go ahead and fire me. I don't give a shit. I'm tired of this shit. Like, I'm not gonna say who they are or anything like that, but like, go ahead. I'm just like over it. But like, they have a robotic system coming in, and it's replacing a lot of jobs. Like the whole warehouse is going to be done by automation, and you're just going to need, I guess, some people to load the trailers. And in the future, you won't need people to do that. They already have the technology. I already seen it for robots to load the trailers. It just takes up a lot of space. But I've seen forklifts that are completely AI ran, loading trucks, loading flatbeds, and that's not an easy thing. So, but they don't offer anything. They're not like, hey, do you want to become a programmer? Do you want to help program this? Like, we're gonna need programmers because there's gonna be issues, and do you want to learn this? Like, there's nothing. Like, they don't want to train anybody. And it's not just like the company I work for, but it's like all the companies. Like, dude, why don't you want to train people, man? No, we just want to bring people in just to kind of get by for now, and then not think about that's the whole problem with them, because all only think about is like quarters. They don't think long term at all. They don't think about even like the cachet of the name of the company, man. Like Bud Light, they don't think about that. All they think about is like, we're gonna push whatever we want to push right now and destroy our whole brand. So there's such horrible leadership everywhere across the board, and that's why you see things failing, and that's why people feel like the world's coming to an end. This is what I say. Okay. Somebody posted something about women's sports. I think it was probably Vivek Ramaswamy. Because the people who are on the right or whatever, they're obsessed with women's sports and men being in there. And this is what I say. Who fucking cares about women's sports? Nobody watches it. Nobody gives a fuck. You know, girls should be like, that's a masculine thing. Girls should want to be able to be more, you should want girls to be more feminine in society. Who's going to take care of the fucking kids? You want dudes taking care of the kids? I mean, you can do it. Listen, like me personally, it's just more natural for the man to go work and whatever, but like, you get more nurturing out of the woman unless you get a low testosterone man. But women are not attracted to low testosterone men. Like, yeah, you can be the couch, you know, unless like unless you're in that type of environment, and you have to be cool with her sleeping with other people, sleeping with the big dog, and then you don't get nothing. So I'm really tired of people's shit. Like, okay, I'm really tired of people's shit. This is agitation, and I won't ever like go on the defensive, but like I see and I feel it in myself, because people are so about themselves, and they're not courteous of anybody else, and they don't want to, they're not teaching the youth to do the same, and even respect people. So like you might hold the door open for people, you might say thank you, please, stuff like that. You don't give a fuck. Like, they're being taught to be narcissistic, selfish, all these huge traits. Why? Because that's what their parents are. Like, look at what does that show you? I'm gonna drop you off at the daycare. Now, it's one thing if like things didn't work out. I don't know what the hell happened, but the man decided to go AWOL, and now the woman is stuck. Is she legitimately got fucked over, or vice versa? And you gotta do what you gotta do to survive. So you have to use daycare because you ain't got the family to help you out, whatever. But there's a lot of situations where you have double income, and if they organize their finances correctly, you know, they might barely be able to skim by, and they're not going to be able to be like, oh, I went to this vacation, we got this material thing. But guess what? She develops more of a connection. Like, we have to work. That's the problem with people, is you have to work. You have to contribute something to society. Because if you're not gonna, if you have a huge number of people that are not contributing anything to society, how are you going to keep the infrastructure going? Because we don't have the robots to do everything yet. So you'll see failures. You'll see things costing an exorbitant amount of money because there's demand, but there's no supply, because nobody wants to fucking work. And if you try to get like uneducated people to do that, truck driving, you might see more accidents. You know, people who aren't qualified, you might see more accidents on the road, like huge disasters that are caused by people who are incompetent, and they're not ready to do that job yet. You know, what's crazy about me is I've trained people before on jobs. In my last job, where I became a supervisor, the crazy thing is, like, I was still learning the process. I was still learning about how to paint. I was still learning all that, like how to touch up this and that. And it, you know, it doesn't take a rocket scientist. You see a bald spot on a part, and then you take a little bit of a paint to match it up. Well, you got to match it up with the right one. And we did powder coating, so we hang shit up, and then there's my hooks, and then there's like, in those hooks there's bald spots. So when the customer gets a part, you want it to be nice, you want it to be evenly coated. The paint protects the metal from corrosion. So that's a huge reason why paint is so important on metal. It protects from corrosion. So you want to have the whole part covered. So you take them down, You take a little paintbrush and then you dab little bald spots and you fill it in so it has coverage on the metal. Well, you know, you have to try to, the problem is like this company was just starting out, just like it was just fresh out. Like they just opened the paint department. And I was there, I helped open it, right? And I was only there like 6 months. And I'm over there like teaching some new person how to do this. And I'm like, I'm learning on my own. I never really did it. And I was selected. And like, I'm learning as I teach her. So that type of thing is going to happen more and more. It's going to be more and more prevalent. And you need people who can have the confidence, especially, do you know how much a lack of confidence you have in something when you don't ever really do it and you don't really understand the process? And but that's where we're at, because what's gonna happen is if we have a bunch of people that just like, you know, I keep on hearing from these people, okay, let's call them conspiracy theorists. And I didn't take the vaccine. I didn't take it. I'm suspicious of it. I've always been. I didn't take it. And I made sure me and my kids did not take it. But if something happens and then you know, people get cancer from it and then they pass away in masses in a couple years, and you know, we won't know, but like, you just see masses of people pass away, and a lot of them are boomers. These people, like, you know, boomers aren't all bad. Like, there's bad people from every single generation, and there's good people from every single generation. There's really, really good boomers. But these people, a lot of these people are keeping this infrastructure moving forward. So essentially, you'll have people in critical spots where, man, if they make wrong, like me just trying to figure that out is on a low scale, as opposed to something like serious. Like, that is serious. You want to have good quality, but I'm talking about, like, you cause a catastrophe. You got people in spots like that that are just not ready, not qualified, and you're gonna see a lot of that going forward, and that's why you're gonna see a lot of problems in the supply chains, in manufacturing. It's just because these companies, they act like they want to own you. I don't want to be at your establishment for overtime. I'm sorry, you don't pay me enough to want to be here. I would rather be home playing video games. I'm sorry. It's not fun to me. And then you offer me time and a half, it's just not gonna do it for me to want to stay here. So like, what happens is people don't want to work and they're surviving on less, and it doesn't take, if you don't have kids, it takes a lot less to survive off of. But at some point things will catch up, and those people are going to have to, like, the standard of living that they're used to is going to decrease. So they're going to have to become more minimalistic or work harder, because things are just going to get more and more expensive. You won't be able to afford regular things, and that's why I say, like, if you're out here like trying to be like, oh, look at me, like, you're just a common person like me, and you're trying to like present yourself like peacock to people, like you got money or whatever, you're a target, man. You got that expensive vehicle, you're a target. A BMW or whatever, you're a target. So I also want to say, I think that like what's going to happen in the States is this is quite obvious. We're going to fracture. You're going to see new state lines drawn, and in fact, I would like to see more than 50 states here. I would like to see California divided up to at least 3 or 4 different states. You can do the same with Texas, and they were saying, like, when Texas came into, because it was its own country before, when it came into America, they want to come into 5 different states, but America wanted them to come into as a whole state. So like, if we want a more balanced America, we need to divide up the states even more. They need to be smaller, so we have more diversity in opinions instead of just like, it's just so we need to have 100 states. I don't know, because you're just sending concentrated powers, and it's easy to corrupt. If you got a lot more states, a more decentralized system, it's harder for the federal government to, or whatever entity to get a hold of a corrupt system of the majority. You don't need the whole thing. You don't need everybody in Congress. You don't need all the politicians. You just need like the majority of the important government officials who dictate laws and finance and all that to do as you say. So it's easier to do that when you have, so that just say like if we had less states, if you just started seeing like states go into other ones, and then also now instead of 50 states we got 30 states. Well, that's easier to gain power over, because it's less decentralized. You got less opinions. Your vote will be less, you know. So, but yeah.